Itamar Carmel.
Hello, hello.
What is happening?
All good. Pleasure to be here, man. How are you?
I'm so blessed to have you here. I feel like I missed you in PMC, and that sucks because you and your partners in crime were going everywhere. We were everywhere at the same time, and we didn't get the chance to really have a conversation. So I hit you up and told you if you told you to come on the podcast, and you were like, "Fuck yeah, let's do it."
Yeah, thanks for having me. I've been listening to Sync Jams for a long time now, so it's really cool to be here finally talking to you. I know I've been super busy in LA. We didn't get a lot of time to meet and catch up, but here we are. Let's do it.
And it's a good busy. We're gonna talk about it, and we're gonna get into it, and get into the nitty gritty. But I want to, as you know, I start with my guest story, and I want to get to know who you are and also how you got started and your trajectory to where you are right now, where you are with I don't know, you call it a quartet or like a four piece
You can.
production masterpiece. I don't know how to call it, like a powerhouse of production.
I
And
love Powerhouse Music Collective.
yeah,
All
yeah.
yeah,
I'd call it a
good.
powerhouse. I've seen you, and you guys look like a unit, and it's just maybe a unit, but unit
Unit is
is
good.
too army, and I don't want to speak army like in this time of life. So yeah, man, just like let's start by telling your story, man.
Okay. So I've been producing music for around 15 years now. I've always been around music as a kid. Picked up a guitar when I was 12. And I remember learning guitar. When I learned guitar, I used to have like a software of writing notes, which was Guitar Pro. And I remember that at some point, I found myself creating full tracks in this software, which you really shouldn't do because it's meant only for notation, so it sounded horrible. But I loved the fact you can write all the parts in your track. So writing the drums, writing the bass guitar. Um, so at this point, I realized I want to do more than just playing an instrument. So a few years later, I found about Cubase, and this was the time of dance music was huge, like Calvin Harris, David Guetta, Avicii. These were my idols at the time. So I started producing like house and dance. And at some point, my brother's friend reached out to me. He was also a music producer. And he said, "Hey, man, I love your music. Why won't you come over? We can do some stuff together." And I went, and we had like an immediate connection. And since then, we used to DJ, and we started kind of a duo of like EDM, future house music. We used to sign. We signed with some decent record labels in Europe, and had some nice gigs going on. And at some point, we were invited to a music like a conference, like a meetup of music producers, and that's where I met Itai and Arel, who are my partners today at Arba. Um, and they told me about sync music. That was the first time I heard about sync music, and they played some of their stuff to me, and I was blown away. I mean, they were so out of my league. Um, so I always looked up to them. So me and my partner at the time, we used to call them all the time and get feedback, and just mentor me. And they were always kind to us, like telling us the best tips and guidance. And so 2 years later, my partner and I, we decided, okay, this DJ producer thing, it's cool, but it's not really, I'll say, financially rewarding. So we had to put the brakes on it. And I was about 22 at the time, and I was pretty lost. I didn't know if I should continue doing music. Um, and that's when my partner told me, why won't you send, some of your music to Itai and Aurel and see what comes up? So I sent some of my tracks, and I didn't expect anything really because they were like way out of my league at the time. So, um, surprisingly, like a day after, they called me back and they say, "Hey man, we like your stuff. I mean, you have some cool stuff. We love the way you approach music, and that's cool. But if you want to work with us, you'll have to like pull up your sleeves, and there's a long way to go." So I had no doubt I want to do that. So I told them, "Yeah, just bring it on. I'm here, whatever you need." Um, so since that moment, it was like about 2 years of constant grind, learning trailer music, sync music. Um, I was exposed to genres I never thought I would produce, like horror music, and rock music and everything. So I was so thrilled about the fact you can do like so many genres. Until that point, I was kind of limiting myself to electronic music. So I had the time of my life. I didn't expect anything really. It was like 2 years of producing music without any guarantee. And I did about, I think, 100 tracks in that period of time. And after 2 years, we landed one of my albums in a production music company. Um, and that was the time we connected with Or, which is the fourth member of Arba today, and decided, okay, we have something cool going on with the four of us. We have great chemistry. We're very good friends, and our talents really complement each other. So we decided to work together, the four of us. Um, so at this point, we did a lot of sync music and production music albums, but we always knew we can do like much more than that, because we always put our best effort in the tracks, even though we weren't like necessarily paid for this effort, but we always put like 200% in the track we're working on. Um, so we really enjoyed each other's talents, and understood the power of working in a team. So, I mean, you have like someone who is extremely good at mixing and mastering, and then you have someone who is great at composition and arrangement, and then you have someone who's great at negotiating and managing clients. So we knew we have something good in our hands, and we did like about 2 years of producing music for production music and libraries.
Yeah.
Um, and at some point, we did an album for BMG Production Music, which was they wanted us to do world music. So we did 10 tracks with vocals. Each track was in a different language. So we did like track in Portuguese and Spanish and Arabic and Hebrew and Chinese. Was really unique album. Um,
Is that
and
the one
BMG
with
was
Raja?
no, so that was
No.
prior to Raja.
Okay.
And this album was accepted really well by BMG, and they said, okay, these guys know how to do world music. We don't have a lot of, you know, this kind of content. So a few months later, we get another call from BMG, or an email, I think, and they said, listen, guys, we have an urgent music search. It's from Riot Games. And they're looking for Turkish music for their game Valorant. So they mentioned they needed a trailer cue with a Turkish female singer. Okay, just a moment. So we knew we had about 24 hours to come up with a trailer cue with a Turkish vocal. So we kind of tried to figure out how do we get a Turkish vocalist in such a short notice. So Or, my partner, he recalled he used to work with a Turkish director a few years back. So he reached out to him and said, "Look, man, we're under the gun. We have this huge opportunity. Do you have someone in mind?" And he connected us with this girl called Helen, who is an actress and singer he used to work with. So we reached out to Helen, and she said, "Yeah, guys, I'm totally down. But the thing is, I'm currently in Austria in vacation. Um, I'm outside of the studio." So she ended up writing like the song on the road, recording in her iPhone, and sending the vocals over to us. In the meantime, we produced like the instrumental trailer, which included Turkish instruments, and we kind of captured the sound of Valorant after we did a research about the IP, and we managed to like send the demo to Riot within about 16 hours with the vocal and everything. And Riot was so thrilled with the result. They were like, "That's exactly what we had in mind. You guys nailed it."
Wow.
So at this point, they said, "Okay, how about you guys make this track like a commercial song, and we can release it on Spotify, of Valorant Spotify." And we knew this is a huge opportunity for us because that would really push the boundaries of what we did so far, and not just trailer music, but actually commercial music and songs. So we knew that was a huge moment. We took it with both hands and made a great track, like an EDM kind of electronic track with traditional Turkish elements and Helen's vocals, which she came back from the vacation and recorded properly. And this was this was a great experiment for us, and the track came out really good. Wright was super thrilled with the result, as well as BMG. Um, and about 2 weeks before the release, Riot Games reached out to us and said, "Okay, guys, do you want to come up like with a name for yourselves? Because we can't really put all the four names of yours on Spotify. It just looks clumsy, you know." So we took like a few minutes, talked internally, and one of us said, "Hey guys, what about Arba? That means four in Hebrew." And it was like immediate, consent, and off we go. That was how Arba was born.
That's great.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay. So yeah, there were so many points. So first of all, when was that point in time? How long ago is it that you met Itai and Harel?
it was back in 2018, I think.
Okay, and when you started working with Or?
Yeah, or it's a bit complicated because they used to work with Or back in the day, but
Okay.
the four of us connected somewhere in 2020.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So it's it's not that old. It's like 4 years old that you've been making music together.
exactly. Yeah,
Okay. There are a lot of things that I want to touch on.
sure.
First of all, and I'll let you choose. Like the words that came up to me was mentorship, um, teamwork, um, and and versatility. Now, when Or was on the panel, or Kribos was on the panel, he talked about how you guys made like 9 different versions for like something that they asked you for. And as one person, I was asked to do a like vocals for an ad a few weeks back, and I'm like, I'm giving them three vocals, and that's like what I can do, you know. But when you're four people, it's like, that's why I say powerhouse, because you can kind of just throw it all out, kind of, in a
Right.
way.
Uh-huh.
Whereas with one person sitting in front of a computer and just racking your brain on something by yourself is just not as sustainable, in my opinion. Because, like, how many albums can you make that sound a certain way? But when you're four people, it's like there's something there. So I came up with the words, like the words mentorship, work, teamwork, and versatility. You take it wherever you want.
Okay, okay. I totally agree with your stand of view. Um, the power of a team is real. I mean, you don't only enjoy each other's skills musically,
Mhm.
you also enjoy each other's perspective. For example, when you get a brief from a client, each one of us kind of, you know, takes it to his own direction, and there's a thing of beauty in that. So we come up with a few versions. Each one of us, has his own imagination going when we get a brief, and this way we can come up with multiple versions for a client. And this way we can basically compete with ourselves, but we're all winners at the end. You know what I mean? Um, so this was one of the realizations when we started to work together, that it is a powerhouse. Um, and add to that that we also complement each other musically. So, for example, or he is very well at orchestration and classical music. And for example, Itai is very good at like pop and mixing and mastering. Harel is incredible at vocal production, sound design. I'm very good at trailer music. So we can cover a lot of, areas of the industry this way.
Yeah.
So definitely the power of a team is real. We're really sticking to it.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so where it takes me is especially in sync. I mean, the way that things are like split and all that kind of thing. It's like the immediate thought is like, well, now your syncs are split into four, and now how do you kind of like make a living off of that? And how would you answer to something like that, where, like, there's composers who are making, I don't know, like hundreds of tracks a year, and kind of building off that. But now you're making it for you're spreading it by four, kind of thing. And in my mind, just like I'm telling you, my fucked up way of thinking about things,
Hmm.
right? It's not the
Yeah.
right way of thinking. It's just the way that I see it is, like, now a label gets 50% and y'all get to split the difference. How does that thing work for you in sync as a team?
That's a very good question. And I think the problem is also the solution in this case, because when you work on, let's say, small projects for production music companies
Hmm.
and any other company, not just production music, then you're not financially satisfied, right? Because you have to split it by four. So, what it makes you to do is expand your consciousness to bigger things. So it's kind of a survival mentality that you say, I have to get into
Yeah.
big projects in order to survive. So you really have no
Yeah.
choice than do
Yeah.
amazing
Wow.
things. So this is
Wow.
why since we started working together, we knew we're going to give 200% on each project, even though it's not paying us properly. Um, because we knew someday the opportunity will come. And a few years later, it came. By the way, we approached Riot Games multiple times without success, but
Mm.
eventually we visualized and we stuck to it and kept getting better. and we got through another window to Riot Games, which we really
Yeah.
dreamed about. And
Yeah.
the answer to answer your question is the fact you have to make a lot of money for the team is the way to go. Actually visualizing you doing bigger projects because you have to
Mm.
basically.
Ooh, let that sink. Let that sink. Not no pun intended.
No pun
Yes,
intended.
no pun intended. But move the mic a little bit because I want to see your beautiful face.
Oh,
So,
of course.
or move away a little bit. Yeah, just I just want to see your. I just want
Ah,
to see
sure.
you.
I'm basically the
So
face. I'm the
no, it's
face
all
of our
good. But
bodies. So
I can hear you well either way.
okay.
Anyway, yeah, expanding your consciousness, expanding your glass, so to
Yep.
speak, and it's a scary thing, right? Because again, for a lot of people, the little things are the bread and butter, right? Like the reality, the little kind of daily things that people can do on a daily repetitive thing, uh, um, on the daily. But when I saw you guys, it stuck out that you know Harel was we were just talking for a second. I could see the man is just like waiting to speak about something with music. It's like in the it's like in the tip of his tongue, ready to come out, and he just wants to do it. That's how it felt like to me when I spoke to him. Oh, damn. All
Roy,
good. Yeah, yeah.
you hear me?
We're still recording. Yeah,
Oh,
we're
sorry. Yeah, no,
we are
maybe it's
good.
my internet.
I'm just writing. It can be both. I'm just writing 21,
Sure.
59, 50. Pause. Okay, I'm gonna slap the mic again. All right. So when I was talking to Harel, I could see how passionate he is. I mean, how he wants to other people to succeed also, and also like give his true opinion. And I'm sure you remember that we were in a room and you guys gave feedback to another mutual friend of ours.
Yeah.
And I mean, they were burning him to the ground. Like, I don't know if he knew what he was coming in for. I don't think he did, by the way. But the fact was that they wanted they it felt like to me they wanted the best from this person, so they really gave it all, and that's to me amazing. And a question that I have is, how do you, okay, now you've had all this, we'll get back to music for games. How do you approach people when when random people ask you for feedback? Do you just like give it to them because you were given it, or do you give it to people who you genuinely want to help? How does that go for you?
Um. Well, to be honest, we don't really have a lot of time for giving feedbacks. But we do listen to a lot of tracks from our inner circle
Yeah.
friends. But I'd say when I give feedback, I just want the best for the guy,
Yes.
um, for who I'm giving feedback to, in the most genuine way. I mean, there's no ego involved at all. Even when we gave feedback to our friend when you were there, it was intense because we are very passionate people, and it sometimes comes out pretty aggressively, but it's purely from the place of passion. We want people to grow with us. We want people to be the best version of themselves. It's same for
Yeah.
us. I mean, our internal feedbacks are brutal
Yeah.
at times, but this is what brought us where we are today, working with the biggest clients. And personally, I had to be very open for feedback along the way. So when I started just working with Itai Norel at the time, I knew nothing about sync, trailer music.
Yeah.
I was very like had a narrow perspective, and I welcomed every feedback, um, because I knew that's gonna take me to the next level. So even though it was intense, it was slapping your ego a lot of times,
Oh yeah.
but I knew it's for the best. I knew they're coming from a good place. They have good hearts, and I owe them a lot because they actually built me up as a producer today.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just asking, to be honest, for selfishly, because from the podcast and just in general, people come up and I feel like a total asshole sometimes to just say, "Hey, I don't have time." And also, you know, it's not only I don't have time. It's a lot of the times people just think that because you're a composer for sync and they're a composer for sync, then you guys are homies. And it's just not. To me, there are so many people in this space, and there's a certain amount, there's a finite amount of hours in the day, and you know,
Yeah,
like I'm not listening to your cat pop music right now because you don't even know who I am in a lot of these cases. And yeah, that's why I was wondering where you come from as someone who's been mentored. And I can really resonate with what you were speaking, because I can say that the most brutal feedbacks that I've gotten to this day were the ones that made me, like
right. Exactly.
were the ones that you know, like, it's funny. So I spoke to one of your guys, to Aura, a few months back, and he was like, uh, um do you honestly, because I told him about my goal. Everybody who's listening to this podcast knows my goal is Spider-Verse 3. And
Okay.
I'm speaking to him about it, and he's like, yeah, you're good, but are you that good? And I'm thinking, and I know he hasn't listened to me a bunch, but this question that he directed towards me in this like direct way was
Yeah.
like, huh, okay, I love you
It's
and hate
a
you in the same time, but I'm definitely going back to the drawing board. And what that conversation has brought into me, like that question, was the ability to humble myself and ask, how do I go into this with my superpower? Yeah, like, so to speak,
yeah.
quite literally.
Right.
And what I did was, maybe subconsciously, I got inspired by you guys. But what I did the second, I feel like probably a week after I talked to him, was I started an album, and I started incorporating all my network in my album, like all the best people that I know, like the best producers, best mixers. I mean, I do most of the mixing, but like best people who I can immediately contact. And in a week, we had already like an EP, like with features, with a lot of things. So it was like the
Amazing.
power, the power of being a few people. And I had a songwriting session like in one day, and then the next day I was sending stems to my friend in the US. He sent it to me after 6 hours. It was just like crazy.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine how it is to be in a group of four who, you know, like, these are my people.
Right.
um that's
It's
amazing,
very
man.
powerful. Yeah. I mean, it's way more than just a collaboration of musicians. It's sync world and being a musician in general. It's tough. I mean, you have to make a living.
Yeah,
We all know the struggle, and most of the time we need someone to rely on. It's a very human feature we have. It's We're used to be together in communities,
right.
and when we're working on a custom project, and after about 2 months of grinding, we're losing. That's that can break you down. But if you
Yeah,
have people to to rely on and talk to them, and they can build you up again, that's
yeah.
everything. That's what keeps us going, basically.
Yeah, that's why I started this podcast, man. I just didn't want to go through
Yeah.
this alone. It was like this world tends to feel to me so lonely. Like, just like working with people, like sending emails back and forth and doing that kind of thing. It's just like, it's kind of mechanical in a way. And then
Right.
having a bunch of people who are just, I mean, there for me, has been the key. I'm still looking for that squad, but I mean, like, it's just happening. I feel like, as the network is building itself, it's kind of happening by itself, if that makes sense. And uh,
Right.
um, that's a huge thing. I feel like you're touching on, and you tapped into, and I love that.
Amazing.
Um, I want to ask. So many people are, I feel like you didn't go the micro sync kind of route. Yeah, that's my feeling is, yeah, you didn't go that way. And what do you feel like the landscape looks like today for individuals who are getting into it, who are doing it, even? What do you feel like, the smartest move would be for individuals who are in this?
Um, I think it really depends. Each of us has a different perspective and goals. Um, we specifically, we love making songs, and we love trailer music, and it really depends on your goals. But I think the first thing is being honest with yourself. Like you said, or told you, are you that good? So you have to be honest with where you are, with your music, and what steps you need to make yourself in a position to pass an audition, for clients.
Mhm.
So getting mentored is basically the best way to get better in a short period of time. So getting an internship and sharpening your knife, your musical knives. That means composition, mixing, you name it. Um, and get out there. I mean, get out of the studio, go to conferences, make connections, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and basically see what's happening outside of your studio, because sometimes we can get too into the work itself that we forget what's happening around us. So being aware of trends and client needs, and kind of knowing yourself and where you can come handy to clients,
Mm,
because at the end of the day, the clients who approach to us, they're basically looking to make their lives easier. So we know when we get approached by a client, he just wants us to make his life easier and make him look good to their boss. So we try to put ourselves in a position to be like the go-to guys for those
mm.
clients.
Yeah. So, okay. So how would you say one gets to this place?
Um, that's a very good question. Once again, I think it's all about knowing the trends, knowing the profile of your clients. What are they looking for?
Mm,
And once again, being honest with your music. If you're not good enough, then you should tell yourself, okay, maybe I should take a course or get a mentor, um, in order to be in a position to pass an audition once again, because we knew that we always knew that we can do a lot in the music in the sync world, but we had to work towards it, and get better
mm,
at a lot of genres,
mm.
and just putting ourselves in a position to be handy for someone else, and that's what
Yeah.
pays money at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the service business. It's definitely, it's definitely not the service business, but it is the service business. It's like it's it, yeah, I feel like the tendency is to want to close myself in the studio and just like tell the world to go fuck itself. But in the end
Right.
of the day, in the end of the
Yeah.
day, like the and unless I'm like a Billie Eilish or a Justin Bieber, like nobody really cares about what I do. Like, which is okay, which is, it's just the way things are because I'm not a celebrity, and I don't want to be one. But if I want to be able to make money and make a living off of music, I have to be of service. It's really interesting what you're saying because um yeah, I talked to the guys at Warner, and I'm making something for, and it's funny because my perspective has kind of shifted in the past, in the last few months. I feel like, especially going to PMC and understanding like how important it is. I mean, it's my second year, and I feel like it's so important what you're saying, to really meet those people. I probably wouldn't have you here if I wouldn't have met you. So I
Right.
feel like that's the whole thing uh, um of like the magic of meeting people, is that they remember you. They can put a name to a face, and then like I have I have people on the podcast which I don't have any business speaking to. Like, I'll be completely honest with you. I'm not even joking. I'm for real.
Right.
And but the second that I see these people and I feel their vibe, and we just like and we just have fun, and we just have a conversation, a really funny one also, or a really heartfelt one. We have a moment together. We now shared a moment.
Right.
And as cutthroat as the music business can be, I feel like it's, in the end of the day, it's service and it's people.
Exactly.
And if you're ready for your opportunity, but you have no one in your network to give you that opportunity, so you're basically fucked. You're basically unemployed. Um,
That's true.
yeah.
Right. Because it is about friendships at the end. And if you can be at the top of top of the mind of the people who want to hire you, that's a good way to go. So um no, that came messed up. I had a point when I started speaking. um Let me just think about it for a moment.
You already said something really important there. By the way, it's like you want to be in the top of somebody's mind, and the way to do it is for them to know you in a way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would say it again, just so it can be more clear. So yeah, putting yourself out there is so important because first of all, it's all about friendships in every business and every
Yeah,
industry.
yeah,
Um, but also you want to be, you want the client to think about you when he has a project. Um, so when he gets a brief, he can say, what about Arba? I mean, I just met these guys. And
yeah,
so, it's kind of a snowball effect you can create by going out there and meeting people.
yeah. That's That's so much. So the story I was starting to tell you before was, I was starting to I got to talk with Scott, from Warner, and we just had a conversation, super
Yeah,
casual, and
I love
and
Scott.
in and yeah, he's a great freaking guy.
Yeah,
Hilarious and amazing panel. Like, the way he facilitates a panel is just fire.
yeah,
Yeah, he's a professional. Yeah, he's just, it was such a blast to speak to him. But in between the lines, he told me what he needed, basically.
yeah,
And I read between the lines, and I was like, okay, see you later. And then I came home and I started making this album, and I asked myself this question, that, or ask me, like, is it really, is it really that good? And I said to myself, probably, maybe, probably not. So that was the question. That was the answer that came into my mind. So I actually, what I'm doing is I'm openly saying, after what is it, 5 years in sync, I'm sending my stuff to one of the people who were on the podcast, and I'm paying him to review everything and send me detailed notes about like my mixes and about what to do. because in the end of the day, an amazing sentence I've heard from a great friend of mine, which I just got back from a trip with, is don't let little money get in the way of big money. And even if
Right.
the little money is significant at the time, like 200, 300 euros, whatever, for a mentorship, um, that's going to come double, triple, quadruple when you're ready for an ad gig. It's just gonna
Exactly.
pay you so much more than this 1 hour is touring session that maybe dug a little hole in your pocket. It's gonna come back in a different way.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. Did you have moments like in your career where you were like, man, like I have, of course, when you were 22, you quit DJing and you kind of like went into that sync. But did you have, within that time, let's say between 2018, 17 to now, did you have like an existential crisis as a musician?
All the time. I mean, it's they have a saying, if you love food, don't become a chef. That means if you love something, you're going to do it so intense, like in such a high volume, so it's going to wear you off. But
Yeah,
um that's another reason to work on exciting projects and just expand your consciousness to bigger things. So don't just compromise on things, try to push yourselves outside of the comfort zone to, explore new genres that excite you, to get your curiosity
yeah,
flowing again. And for me personally, I never knew I'm gonna do music full time.
yeah,
But I've always had, at any point of my life, someone who gave me like a vote of confidence, someone who listened to my music and said, "Hey, you got something here. It's good."
yeah,
So at the beginning, it was, my brother who listened to my music and said, "Hey, I love it. That's cool." And
yeah.
later on, it was my partner in the DJ duo. Later on, when I went to like music college in Israel, my music teacher told me, "Don't listen to what I'm saying. Just go with your instincts because they're good."
They
And
like
then it
saying that.
was, and then it was Itai and Arel. So basically, I was also lucky to have people, giving me those votes of confidence in my music. But to your question, yeah, being like having existential crisis is part of the job. I mean, just
Right.
don't make it an existential crisis. Make it like a dip, small dip. Then you come back
Yeah,
the day after.
yeah. That's why I really emphasize the power of palate cleansers in music. I feel like it's so people don't speak about it. They say you got to go all in, you got to do what you're best at all the time, and I'm like, eh, not. I disagree. Like for me, I was crazy into hip hop. I wanted to do hip hop. I still love, like, it's my my bread and butter. And that being said, I went ahead and I saw like what people are doing in trailer, and I got curious. Now, did I get to a level that you are probably in? No, no. And like I'll tell you, like, for sure. But I've partnered with people who are where I want to be, and
Yeah.
then they take my compositional skill. Like I think we are is do you know Amir Gurvitz?
Oh yeah, of course,
Yeah,
great
so
guy.
him and I have been working a lot together, and just like taking his skill set and me, I have like I can put something together. I can create a really solid, like 80% of a product. But then it needs that somebody to take it to the next level, which means realistic strings. I don't know to do that shit. I'm not interested in how to do that shit, to be honest. Like it's just like not something that draws me in. I don't hear it well. So I give
Right.
it to my friend, and he does that, and he mixes and he masters and he does everything, and then we send it out and it sounds fire. So what I'm saying, all I'm saying to what you're saying is I love what you're saying, and I feel like people have to understand that without these moments of just like stepping out, you cannot look in. Like if you don't
Right.
step out, how would you look in? There's no way for you to
Exactly.
do that.
Yeah. I mean, once again, I can't stress this enough, being in a team that works well together and complements each other, it's everything. For example, um, our second project with Riot Games, it was Raja. So
Oh
what
yeah,
happened was,
that's a story.
uh,
Please tell it.
yeah, it is. So what
Yeah.
happened was, Riot Games approached to us and they said, okay, we're kind of thinking of an Indian agent. By the way, somehow Itai had a feeling it's gonna be Indian, so he prepared ahead of time.
What the hell?
So yeah, he had like a hunch, you know.
That's
And
crazy.
then Valorant released a trailer when they kind of hinted it's gonna be in India, so we knew the next agent is gonna be Indian. So we talked to our friend Mangal Suvernan, who is an amazing Indian artist, vocalist, and he plays the Bansuri. So Riot Games approached to us and they say, "Okay, guys, we're thinking about like making a hip hop track, Indian hip hop." Um, so that was a brief. Basically, they didn't have a lot to say at this point, but we said, "Okay, we're taking the challenge, so we're gonna knock it out of the park." So I'm gonna come back to the team thing we talked about. What happened was that Hitai and Harel at the time started producing a beat. And at the same time, Or and I decided, okay, we need to find a rapper for this project. We didn't know anyone. So what we basically did was Google like up and coming rappers from India. We saw an article and started listening to rappers. And
Yeah.
it was no time. Like we had to deliver something in like 2 days. So
Wow.
at some point we discovered Tienas in that article, and I remember listening to him and I said, okay, I must get this guy. I mean, he was something else. He was
Okay.
like giving me Kendrick Lamar vibes. Really, he was super talented, and his flow is amazing. So we reach out to him, and he does not answer.
Oh
Um,
no.
So yeah, we have the beat going on, and we're just missing the vocal part. Never mind. Eventually, after like 24 hours, he responded, was super down, and he nailed like the vocal performance in a few hours and knocked it
Wow.
out of the park. So we managed to send Riot a demo about um, less than 2 days after they gave us the brief. So to your statement about the team, we couldn't have done it without all the parts,
Yeah.
doing their thing. So I could be making the beat in one project, and then I could be doing the administration part. I can find a rapper or talk to the client or do whatever the teams need me to do. So that's the real power of a team once again. Yeah.
Yeah. It's me and my friends call it the squad effect.
Yeah, definitely.
That's amazing, man. I feel like I do feel you like you're one of the people I can talk with for hours, and for real, I feel like we'll definitely next time we meet in person, we're gonna do one in person for sure, because I do wanna get to vibe out with you for real in
Definitely.
real life. So maybe when I'm in Israel, um, if Israel still exists. No, I'm kidding, but
Yeah.
but yeah, so we'll do it in person, but is there any last like piece of advice you want to leave people who are coming up who want to be where you are at with?
um I think we mentioned most of the things, which is, you know, um, working on your composition skills, and understanding the visual media, because we eventually serve a purpose that is bigger than the music itself. So try to understand your place in the sync world and really work on your craft, know what you're good at, really good at, and then find partners to complement whatever you're not that good at.
Mm.
And that will do wonders for you. And the last thing is go out there, just put yourself out there, make connections, make friendships, not connections, and solve problems to clients. That's about it.
That's amazing. Another, you know what? Another little one that I have is, how do you look for trends? What is your what? How do you see trends and what somebody may need?
Um, Depends on which area,
Hmm.
which means I'm watching the most recent trailers from the big
Hmm.
studios, and then I'm gonna listen to top 40 Billboard music, and know what's trending in the pop world. And it usually has a bit of correlation between one another. So that's what I would do to, be up with the trends.
That's super cool, man. That's amazing. Where can people connect with you and find you online?
Well, me personally, not a huge social media guy, but I do have, LinkedIn, Instagram. But I would recommend, following us at Arba, watching what we do. We have some really cool and exciting projects coming up, which I can't necessarily talk about, but really exciting stuff.
I know.
So Arba Music on Instagram, Spotify, wherever,
Amazing, man. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for coming on. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you for your time, and really exciting to be here with you. And hopefully, we'll catch up in LA somewhere.
We will.